welcome back to my video. So, my name is Francisca Karin Omega with my student number 20410003. Yeah, in this video, I will explain you about the important topic. The first topic is about the rule of phonology, and for the second topic is about phonemes, phones, and allophones. Are you curious about those topics? Okay, let's get started and enjoy the video. Yeah, the first topic is about the rule of phonology. So, what is the rule of phonology? The rule of phonology is a speech processes which happen naturally. It can be understood by listener and speaker, and how speech sounds form pattern is made. There are 4 types of the phonological rule. The first is assimilation. The second one is dissimilation. The third one is insertion. And for the last one is deletion.
The first is assimilation. Assimilation is when a sound becomes more like a neighboring sound with respect to some phonetic property. For example, winter becomes winter, center becomes center, and planter becomes planter. 2 major categories of assimilation. The first, regressive assimilation. The phoneme that comes first is affected by the one that comes after it. For example, bad boy becomes boy. The second is progressive assimilation. The phonemes that follows is affected by the one that comes before it. For example, stand there becomes stander.
General types of assimilation. The first is assimilation of place. For example, road back becomes red back, where the t sound is replaced by a p sound. For the second is assimilation of manner. For example, the pronunciation of Indian as Indian. And for the last is assimilation of voice. For example, the pronunciation of have to with an f sound rather than the v sound. For example, have the. Based on the distribution of change, the first is progressive assimilation. For example, the s morpheme of the plural becomes z when processed by a voice consonant. For example, bag plus s is bags. Pencil plus s is pencils. For the second one is regressive assimilation. For example, the sound n became m under the influence of a labial consonant that follows. For example, 10 minutes becomes 10 minutes. And for the next is dissimilation. Dissimilation is a rule in which a segment becomes less similar to another segment. And for example, the fricative becomes dissimilar to the preceding fricative by becoming a stop. Example, sick becomes sicked. English adopted the French word marbre meaning marble, and in doing so dissimilated the second R to an R. The next is insertion. Insert a syllabic or non-syllabic segment, also known as epenthesis. For example, film, ankle, hamster. Why insertion happens? Preventing clusters of consonants that violate syllable structure constraints in the language, and easing transition between segments that have multiple incompatibilities. The origin and example of insertion. The first is insertion at the beginning is observed in Spanish, where the language doesn't permit onset clusters. The second is words that are inherited from Latin with such clusters changed to have an initial a inserted as special becomes spatial, as student becomes student, escuela becomes school. And for another example is, in English, many people say hamster instead of hamster. Hamster becomes hamster, word a and p is added.
And for the last is deletion. Removes a segment from certain phonetic contents. For example is bomb, chrome. Rule: delete a word final b when it occurs after n and m. Signed, paradigm. Rule: delete a g when it occurs before a word final nasal.
Yeah, for the second topic, we're gonna learn about phonemes, phones, and allophones. Some people are confused about the material or the topic. So, in this video, I will explain about phonemes, phones, and allophones. So, phonemes is a symbol that you see in this chart or in this screen.
What is the definition of phonemes? Phonemes are the smallest phonetics units in a language that are capable of conveying a distinction in meaning. Phonemes are abstract mental representation. Phonemes are represented with slashes. The word keep contains three phonemes. There are k, I, and p. It means to have or continue to have in your possession. And when you want to change into word de, so the phonemes is de, I, and p. It means going or being a long way down from top or surface. If you change a phoneme in a word to another phonemes, it will change the meaning of the word. Phoneme is mental abstract representation of speech sound. Might change the meaning. For example, pig and big using p and b. Pen and pan using a and a. Sing and thing using s and th. English has such phonemes as p, b, a, s, and z, among other phones. Phoneme are abstract mental representation is it already stayed in our brain but we don't pronounce it yet. Phonemes are written between slashes. Example a, I, o, b, p, and so on. Different languages have different phonemes. The characteristic in phonemes, the first is articulated differently. The second is it occurs in the same environment. The third, the change affects the meaning. The last is useless as a symbol.
Sound and phonemes. Phoneme is the smallest unit of sound that can distinguish two words. For example, the word fan is different from the word man. In one unit of sound, which is the f sound, hence is a phoneme, and the same is true for the phonemes m that can distinguish man from fan. So we say f and m are different phonemes of the English sound system. Yeah, I will explain you about phones. What is phones? Phones are realization sound of phonemes, and when you pronounce phonemes, it's become phones.
Phones are represented with brackets. Phone sound, for example, k, b, f, u, d, I. The word cat became cat. Within phonetics, a phone is, first, a speech sound or gesture considered a physical event without regard to its place in the phonology of a language. The second is a speech segment that processes distinct physical or perceptual properties. And for the last is the basic unit revealed via phonetic speech analysis.
And for the last topic is about allophones. What is allophones? Allophones are audibly distinct variation of phonemes, and one phoneme could have several allophones.
Allophones are represented with brackets. This is for the example of allophones. Allophones. Each phoneme may have a number of variants. These variants are called allophones. Allophones of phonemes are not significant from meaning point of view. Allophones are the different phonetic resolution, for example, p, t, k. Central k in calm, retracted k in cool, and fronted k in kill. Clear, whole, and dark, o. Allophones are phonetic variation.
Yeah, so that's all the topic, and that's all about the explanation about the topic of the rule of phonology and phonemes from allophones. Thank you for your attention. Bye bye.